Every Thursday, we like to do a BYU Football Throwback Thursday interview with a classic, great former player from BYU. And as we get set for 4 decades of dominance, we now introduce Jeff Blanc, BYU running back from 73 to 76, 5th all-time in rushing yards. That's more than Jamal Williams, Taysom Hill, and Luke Staley. Believe it. Jeff, thanks for joining us here on BYU Sports Nation. How's it going?
Great, you guys. Glad to be with you.
Now, as I read an excellent article on you Saturday in the Deseret News, I couldn't help but notice that you were a real somebody in the 70s and kind of laying the groundwork for what became BYU football. What was it like helping build BYU football up to what it's become?
Well, it was awesome. And, of course, you know, as young kids, nobody thinks that that's going to happen. They just want to play football. And we were just glad to be there. And with Lavelle's second year as head coach, it was kind of one of those times that you're glad to have.
Did you sense that you were paving the way for something bigger, or was it just this season right now we're doing well?
Yeah, just for the moment. When you're 18, 19 years old, you guys, it's just for the moment. You don't even think about what's going to happen. You enjoy the time you're there, your friends, the acquaintances, and the coaches. I mean, those kind of times you can't take back, you know. I mean, it's a wonderful time, opened a lot of doors for me, and some great mentors. Mel Olson was one of the first. Dave Cragthorpe recruited me out of high school. So, you know, when you get there, you're just playing. You want to go out and play the game. You don't think about 10 years down or 40 years away from when you were there. You just enjoy every moment, and I did.
Jeff, in that article, there was a good story about Lavelle Edwards teaching you a lesson after a play with Gary Scheide. Can you share that experience in detail with us on Sports Nation?
Yeah, that was one of those things you never forget. And, of course, every time I ran the ball, I wanted to get a touchdown. And I remember this one explicitly because I'd run down there maybe 20, 30 yards to get to the 2-yard line and couldn't make it in. And the next play, Gary called a 20 or 21 dive. I can't remember which side I was going to go. But, you know, Chuck Carlson was my center, and I'd always go off of his right or left hip. And it's easy touchdown with 2 yards, I felt. And I ran through the hole, and Gary pulled the ball back and ran around the corner and scored. And, of course, I got, you know, I wasn't upset that he scored. I was upset that I didn't get the chance. And so I kicked the ground, and I'm, you know, jumping up and down. And when I got to the sideline, Lavelle grabbed me, and he real quietly, he said, "Hey," he says, "you're going to get your chance." He goes, we're a team here. So, you know, it wasn't that Gary scored. It was that I didn't get the chance. And you guys, I love Gary Scheide. Don't get me wrong. This guy is one of my dear friends. But not only did he take that play from me, he took my girlfriend away from me.
Whoa, Gary!
So, and he's married to her, Cherie, and they got a great family. And it's one of those things that you think back on, and you know what? The better man got the girl, and I love them all, and I still saw Gary. He would do the color at the baseball games and stuff for my son when he played at Utah, and it was one of those things. Gary and I have this bond, and you know, not that we talk every day, every week, but when we see each other, it's a hug and a handshake, and I'll always love the guy. He gave me the ball many times and threw it to me many times. So he'll always be one of my heroes.
And I called some of those games for, I believe it was Cooper, right?
Yes, Cooper's my son, yeah.
For Cooper,
at
at Utah. And we know Gary well, and I did not know that he stole your girlfriend and married her. You know, that's hilarious.
Jeff, does it make you feel better that he married her? Because to me, if I was in your shoes, I wouldn't. Yeah. I would allow it to be okay because it's like, hey, it worked out. That was destiny.
Yeah, you know what? It's all a competitive spirit back then, right? And we both dated her, and no big deal because, you know, I got a wonderful wife now, and Gary and his family have done well there, and I'm glad he stayed in the area. So it's fun to see him.
I would like to know, since I know Gary, I would like to know more about Gary as a player at BYU, maybe his character or a huddle that maybe should have been longer than normal or something, or some funny instance other than the one you mentioned to us.
You guys, I don't know if you know this or not, but he plays the piano. And every time we'd be at an away game, if there was a lobby or someplace that had a piano, Gary was always in playing the piano, and everybody rallied around him. The guy is multi-talented, you guys. And he is a character. And, you know, everybody used to compare him to Joe Namath and all that stuff. But Gary was Gary. And I think he doesn't get enough credit for what he started there, you guys. This guy, he came in there and he could play any sport. And he was a great quarterback. And in the huddle, he took charge. And, of course, course, I was always saying, give me the ball, give me the ball, give me the ball. And he goes, you'll get your chance, you'll get your chance.
So let me score first.
Yeah,
and then you'll
you
get
know
your
what's
chance,
funny?
Jeff.
You know, these guys that think about running and passing and all that, well, a running back wouldn't want to go to a passing school, you guys. They want to go to where they run the ball. But when I got there and we knew Gary could throw it and all that stuff, I says, okay, just give it to me a few times. And he did, more than my share probably. And I used to catch a lot of passes, Jay Miller and I, and, you know, John Beetham and those guys. I mean, these guys started it. And we kept something good alive and helped Lavelle win his first couple championships. And I don't know how anybody could ever experience anything better than what I did.
Jeff
It was
Blanc.
wonderful.
Jeff Blanc, running back from the 70s, is on BYU Sports Nation. When I was looking at the total rushing yards, I knew you were one of the most premier backs in BYU history. But you're fifth right now. Jamal Williams sits behind you in sixth place, and then Taysom Hill a couple spots behind. What is that relationship like as you watch Jamal and Taysom likely this year pass you? Is that something that hurts, or is that something that you cheer them on for?
Well, you know, like I told Dick Harmon, you know, we didn't get as many games, and I was just looking through some stats before I got on with you guys, and, you know, and I hope Jamal does do it because records are meant to be broke, you guys. You know what? When I was there, I knew Pete Van Valkenburg had been before me, and one of my goals was to break his records, you know, and Pete and I are friends, and I think he felt the same way I do about Jamal. Go for it. I hope he gets it and set the bar high so the next guy is going to have a heck of a job. But you know what? Some of these guys have 8 to 10 more games than we had. And so you're right. The asterisk should probably be put in there, like Dick said, and you guys have mentioned. But you know what? It doesn't matter. Records are meant to be broken. I just hope that he does well and BYU does well because, you know, I have a connection there with a lot of these people, and I love to see him do well. And I think he's going to pass it no problem.
Gary,
but it does hurt. It does hurt.
Jeff, when you and Gary in that relationship with the quarterback and the running back, were you ever going to him and saying, "Hey, I can catch the rock. Put me out there on the side. I can catch it coming out the backfield, swing passes, swing catches." Were you ever having those conversations with him all the time, kind of being more annoying, getting on his nerves?
Yeah, and especially because he would say something, can you beat this guy? I'd say, well, no, but give it to me on this side or something. So, yeah, you were always communicating. And when I knew I could beat a guy with the up and out or whatever, you know, I'd tell Gary, just lead me a little bit. And he would do that. Gary would try it. But you know what, guys? We had some great receivers. And I was a secondary. If that guy wasn't open, I knew I was going to get it dumped off to me. So I got plenty. If you look back, I caught a lot of passes during those couple of years, and it helped my multi-purpose yards, and that's what I look at. You know, I was returning kicks, returning punts, but sure, I'm asking Gary to give me the ball every time. But so was Jay Miller.
Yeah.
So
Jay did that one game.
I was going to ask you, how important is it for a running back to be versatile like yourself, to be able to run the rock and catch it as well?
Well, I think it's paramount, and especially today with the way these teams, you know, these blue chippers they have, and these guys can do it all. And you know, it's funny, you guys, I had a friend that played at Oregon, was my quarterback in high school. He said today him and I both would probably have to go to JC and work our way up because playing Division I now, it's so competitive. But yeah, these players out there, it's amazing. But you know, back then it was good to do it all. You never wanted to leave the field. You guys know that. I mean, when you're a kid, you never want to leave the field. Absolutely.
Jeff, great conversation, great stories. We look forward to your presence next week on Media Day as a part of 4 decades of dominance. It's going to be a lot of fun. We appreciate the time, Jeff.
You bet. Appreciate you guys. Keep up the good work and see you next week.
Thank you.